Bonjour, this is Jasmine. Thank you so much for stopping to smell the roses on Rue Madame. For those of you who are new to the neighborhood, I am a writer, a storyteller, and a community builder. I write about culture, politics, parenthood, and my life here in France. This episode of Rue Madame, we're talking about the mayhem that happened in the Capitol. But the topic is redemption. How can America redeem itself after the sight we saw this last week? So help me welcome the panel to discuss where do we go from here? My first reaction to them storming the Capitol was like speechless. I was taken aback, and then I was just shaking my head by the end of it. And I just couldn't look away. I'm like, oh my goodness. And I would like to say that I was shocked by it all, but not really. It was kind of like this was something I expected because, they were giving us warnings. Like, if I can expect it and you can expect it and everybody around us can expect it and FBI and the police couldn't, it's kind of like, okay, then I should be a police officer then. Like, I should
right.
like, I should be a part of the FBI if they couldn't like see this coming a mile away. So what was your reaction to it?
I was just majorly disturbed that that could even happen like that. And then when you think about how with the Black Lives Matter protests, like people were getting hit with rubber bullets, there was just so much brutality from the police towards the Black Lives Matter protesters. And then when you look at the way that they treated the people who stormed the Capitol, it was a completely different treatment. So I even seen videos of like police officers taking selfies with the people who were doing it. They were escorting a line of people who had like wheelchairs. They were escorting them through, helping them with water in their eyes when they got maced or pepper sprayed or whatever. Like, it was just a lot of crazy stuff going on. I'm just shocked that it could even happen like that, to be honest with you.
And the first thing I wanted to talk about specifically is the news and the media, because we've had 4 years of incidents similar to this, but not as egregious. For example, I was thinking of Charlottesville when they were marching and like saluting Nazi, carrying Nazi symbols with the torches and saying, white power and all of that. um, and there was no real, I don't know, significant pushback to that. It was just like, oh, okay, they're doing their thing. All right. Like, so it's hard to believe that they didn't know like this was coming. But my question is, how much of the media do you think is responsible for allowing this to just go unchecked and with no consequences?
Well, I honestly feel like, now I haven't watched that much media coverage of it after the fact, but I do feel like from what I have seen as far as politicians condemning what happened, I think we're coming to a point now where we're starting to realize that that's just not acceptable. I mean, what have you seen on your end?
There was a lot of people like everybody else, like, oh my God, what? Like, I can't believe this, because I follow the freshman politicians that are coming in, like Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman and other politicians that recently won their elections. So they haven't been in the Senate at all. They're just coming in, and they're the first ones that I see that are taking the charge. Um, and also the squad talking about impeachment and, he has to go and all of this. And I think it's kind of odd that you have the newbies being like front and center and like the older, seasoned, veteran politicians who, of course, condemn it, but they're not seeking to do any other action that, would have him out the door tomorrow. So,
Well, what's crazy to me is like I saw that I think like Facebook or Twitter or something like that is like banning Donald Trump or something, based on the fact that well, they're finally closing down and shutting down his accounts and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy to me that this is just now happening. Like for me, the inject yourself with cleaner comment was like probably the last straw for me, where he had basically during one of our coronavirus conference or his press conferences said, what if we could use cleaner to kill coronavirus the same way it kills on surfaces? Can we do that with humans? That's what he had said at one point. I'm like, for me, that was like the last straw. And then I think people that actually done it, some people who are his followers had actually done it.
Yeah, the same people that stormed the Capitol.
Right. I'm like that is just insanity. It's insane to me. I don't understand. Well, it's just not being a gracious loser for sure,
But the thing is, you always, because you were talking about the Black Lives Matter protests and how there's a double standard. Imagine if this was a Black president.
Oh my God, if these were Black, no, number one, if this was a Black president, he wouldn't have made it this far. He would have been impeached. If Barack Obama had done half the stuff that Donald Trump has done up until this point, including saying grab a woman by the whatever,
right.
Like number one, he would have never even been, if this was Barack Obama, he would have never even been voted in based on that statement alone. You know what I'm saying? Like Black people couldn't get away with even 1/4 of what Donald Trump has gotten away with throughout his, because he made fun of a disabled person. He ignored coronavirus for the longest, which cost people lives. Like there's just been so much.
But the thing is, and that's what the next question I wanted to talk to you about, because we always talk about the president, the current president, but he had a following, and the following wasn't just his voters, it was other politicians, and it was also people in the media who kind of looked the other way. And
or even the Republican Party. I mean, the Republican Party knows how irresponsible their current leader is, from I think he didn't even know certain countries. Like he's not the best lead for them or the best choice for them, but they decided to go with him because he has a voter base and they needed him in office. So yeah, it's just like I was just listening to someone to a news clip, and this gentleman was talking about how we as a society need to take more responsibility for what's happening as opposed to just blaming Donald Trump at this point.
Right.
Because really what happened at the Capitol, to his point, was just a representation of the bad part of America. I'm trying to like put it into some type of words, but basically like, unfortunately, the part of America that we don't want to look at. Basically, we want to ignore the fact that we still have racism in America. We want to ignore the fact that we still have people who still believe in crazy conspiracy theories and stuff like that. So we have to just face that, as a country.
Him leaving office, do you think that's enough?
No. Well, what do you mean by is that enough? Him leaving office, so Biden getting into office, is that enough?
Well, as in the response to the attack on the Capitol, we will have people getting arrested. I see a lot of people getting searched for, and their pictures are, online and stuff like that. But will that do it? Is that enough? The arrest of certain people and Donald Trump leaving office.
I mean, I don't think that'll solve for the issues in America that we don't face. I Honestly, but is there really a fix for it when you have, a group of people who believe a certain way? It's like you can't, it's like that old saying of you can't argue with a fool type thing. Like at the end of the day, it's hard to argue with someone who's had their mind made up that that Black people shouldn't be in this country, or whatever bias it is that they have in their mind. You know what I'm saying? So that's like just the hard part of it. But can we turn the tide as a country, under Biden's administration? Hopefully. We'll see.
Did you have any reactions from friends or family members that kind of shocked you, or what you saw online?
Not really. I feel like, our whole family was just shocked by the fact that it could even happen and stuff like that. But unfortunately, it's kind of like one of those things where we got to see a real live representation of if it were white people versus if it were Black people. You know what I'm saying? So like basically we got to see that basically white people were able to go as far as they did, So we did have, like, my fiance even showed me an article, because the thing is we haven't even seen everything that was done during that time frame, but he showed me an article about the fact that they actually took feces. There were people there who took feces and like rubbed it on the walls in the hallway of the Capitol building. There was a lot more damage done. There was a lot more violent acts done. Or did you see about the Black woman who was attacked by part of the mob?
No, I did not see that. But I did hear about a woman that was at like a stop point or something who was shot with her baby in the back seat in the Capitol.
Oh my God. See, we're not even hearing about everything yet. But there was a Black woman who was actually just, I guess, walking down the street or something, and she was attacked by part of the mob. It was very terrible. I couldn't even imagine being in that situation. And that type of stuff is definitely being downplayed right now, and not talked about or discussed enough.
Yeah. So
I see that
Felix is
somebody else is
coming.
joining. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you see the response of President-elect Joe Biden?
No, I haven't seen that response. What was he saying?
Well, I think he wrote something online, maybe on his Twitter account, and he said if this was Black Lives Matter, it wouldn't have been the same reaction. But
I feel like I need a speech from him. I feel like I need to see him. I don't want just I'm so sick of politicians using Twitter, I swear for God, at this point, to tell me anything. It's so funny, my fiance called President Trump like Twitter fingers or something like that. But yeah, no more Twitter for me. Like, let's see the speech. But I do appreciate that.
Because people are reacting to that like exactly how you did. It's like a tweet isn't enough. And the fact that Joe Biden is known for being a law and order politician who prefers, the police to be hard on crime, etc., and that is typically to the detriment of Black and brown people. And the fact that he kind of, I guess, is saying this now after his, 30 years of being pretty strict in that sense. Hi, Felix. How are you?
Hey, Jasmine. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. This is Jennifer.
Hello. Hi.
And we were talking about what's going on or what happened in the Capitol. Did you see the craziness?
So crazy. It was so sad to see. It's almost like some kind of weird movie. If that was like some kind of Hollywood movie, I'd be able to turn it off, because I think it's unrealistic. It's like it's hard to believe. And that was actually on January 6th, which was my birthday. So it was
happy birthday.
Yeah, happy belated birthday.
Thank you. So it was actually surreal, because that was actually one of the things I watched again was parts of the celebration that Joe Biden had when he won the election in November. And I watched this video and saw the beautiful fireworks again, because it always was impressive how they managed to do this celebration. I was thinking, oh, what going the inauguration gonna look like? And then switching over to CNN and seeing this, I mean, I was expecting something to happen, but that they really would let something like this go out of hands this way, it's super crazy. Really, really sad, because it's really something that's gonna be, people are gonna talk about this for the next years and decades, because something like this never happened before, and lives were lost.
Yes,
Brave
especially,
policeman,
yeah.
brave policeman lost his life because of these rioters. Some of these rioters, to medical emergency, as far as I heard, like they didn't die of direct impact of the police, and then one lady who was shot. So it's very, very sad for everybody. And
It's funny because it reminded me of the same reaction, like when I was in 8th grade science class and the towers went down and I was removed from school because there was an attack in New York City.
yeah,
And I wasn't so um, shocked and scared because I was actually really scared. I was only, what, 12, 13 years old. Um, but now it's kind of like the same sensation of just what is going on? What is happening? Did you think it was, or do you consider it an attack or a form of terrorism?
it is definitely from some. What I found pretty difficult to really get a grasp on was the different pictures that we saw. We saw some rioters really going violent. I sure would consider this acts of terrorism. I mean, if somebody uses whatever and attacks a police officer and that police officer dies, it is a form of domestic terrorism, murder, manslaughter, whatever the judicial verdict gonna be. It isn't definitely an attack with a terrorist mindset against America. And then on the other hand, you saw some of these Capitol Police taking selfies with the rioters, people coming in.
Right.
And so it was so for me it was also this question, and I think with a clear mind now, once the Biden administration took power, it's going to be important to really take a look at how was the security situation, because it is good to see that they didn't react the way they would have reacted if that was a Black Lives Matter protest, because then we would have had several more.
It would have been bloodshed.
It would have been
To
like totally. We would have had like multiple fatalities. So the way the police handled it, in ways you could say they kept calm. But if those were attackers armed with rifles, ready to shoot senators, I mean, you can't let something like this happen. Some weird hillbilly folks taking over Capitol building.
Did you think it was considered terrorism, Jennifer?
Yes. And actually, now that you bring it up, because the thing is, the media, like you said, the media is definitely downplaying it in the way that they're talking about it. If this were Black Lives Matter, I think that we might even have 24-hour news coverage of just about, like, oh my God, Black people are going crazy and might kill, everybody. It might be lockdowns and all types of crazy stuff. It would because you got to think, like, Black people were automatically a threat. So like we would be even more of a threat if we decided to take over the Capitol building with guns, and then they're bringing in the military and tanks and stuff against us and everything. I could just see this being a huge ordeal if this were Black people.
Exactly. It's really easy to like just swap out the groups. But imagine if this was Muslim Americans or Arabic Americans all grouping up and teaming up to go to the Capitol. It would be.
I feel like it would be the same thing, to be honest with you.
The thing is, it wouldn't be a question of terrorism. They would have automatically assumed it was terrorism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I actually shared a picture on my Facebook page of they had military people lined up on the steps of, I don't know if it was the White House or the Capitol building or something, at one point during the Black Lives Matter movement, to protect the building, but they didn't do the same thing, or didn't even, attempt with these people to keep them out of the building, to where they're climbing walls. They're making jokes online, like basically they're climbing the walls, proving that a wall is not going to work, even though they want to build a wall to keep the Mexicans out. Like, your white people are climbing the walls to get over. It's crazy. And then they were also joking about how they were, these are the same people who said Blue Lives Matter, yet they're the ones coming to attack the Blue Lives at this point. But I would say for a second, just really quick, because I want to get this point out, is I really felt afraid for a minute, because I'm like, if they can do this there, and then they did attack a Black woman, like I said, during this whole ordeal as well, it just made me fear for my safety, as far as like, what if white people decide to go crazy, where I'm at right now, and just say, okay, let's go attack some Black people. It's like, we don't really have very much protection, or it doesn't make me feel safe as a Black person in America that this was able to happen.
Right. That's so what do you think this says to the world, not just America, but what does this say to our allies? What does this say to our enemies? What does this say to the outside world looking in? Felix?
So embarrassing. It's really, really embarrassing. It just shows a lot of weakness, especially in those days now, where America already is struggling because of the way how the Western democracies are handling coronavirus crisis. I mean, this is kind of like a competition of the systems. And the Chinese, they already try to play it away, like how harsh, how strict they impose those rules to combat coronavirus. Their lockdowns, they're way stricter. They're already talking about how low their numbers are. And they're going to put on their propaganda machine very soon to show how their system outplays the Western style liberal democracy in ways of dealing with crises. And it's just like, it's really, really bad. And it's the thing that worries me is this is kind of like a pattern that we see in a lot of Western countries at the moment. This is not just special for America, it's special in this particular instance. And the fact that America has a lot of people who have easy access to guns and are prone to use them, it makes it more dangerous. But we had people just 6-8 weeks ago, I don't clearly remember when it was, but during those protests of those conspiracy weirdos against the corona measures here in Germany, they tried to enter the German Congress. They did exactly the same, but they weren't armed, they weren't as organized.
Oh, yes.
And they were stopped by police very quickly. But the potential is there, and it's just like, it's going to be very, very difficult for America to heal, but also for other nations to bring these groups again into the democratic dialogue. I mean, you can't put them on the sideline and say, you're all racist, you're all
right
people from yesterday. It's like you have to integrate at least part of them. Those ones you consider terrorists, those ones who definitely are terrorists, it's hard to bring them back into reality because they're so far out. It's going to take a long time.
Right. If they're willing to risk their life and die, then I think they're gone. They're gone.
That's really sad. That's a sad thing. These people really do believe. And this shows you they really do believe that they do something like 1776 again. They think they're the second American Revolution. They're thinking that Donald Trump is a man who really cares for their lives. He cares for their lives as long as they are important for him. He cares for them.
He's very selfish.
Otherwise, even I didn't even hear nothing from the president about the police officer who died. I didn't really hear something about the Republicans reaching out to the family of the protesters who died. it's like, come on, it's just like people on chessboard, and it can't go on like that.
Can you honestly say that you're proud to be American, Jen?
I don't think I've been able to, I mean, say that I've been proud to be an American for a while, but after this particular instance, especially, it's like you said, we have to find a way to recover at this point. So it'll be interesting to see what Joe Biden is able to do. And like I said, please come through with something more than a tweet, that's for sure, because the last thing I want is another Twitter president.
That's a good segue into mental health, because I think he has taken advantage to mentally unstable or weak people so he can use them for his own gain or for his own purposes. And I think whenever there is a shooting, a mass shooting, or carnage, we always ask, was he mentally ill, or did he have problems, or etc. And I think this is a good example too, because we have hundreds of mentally weak, maybe not mentally ill, maybe that's a strong word for them, but mentally weak or impressionable people.
Well, that they turned themselves though into criminals though, and that's the thing. Like I feel like the media is not harping on the fact that these people did a criminal act. If these were Black people, then it's automatically a criminal act. Just even walking up to, but they broke and entered into a government building, and we're trying to make an excuse for them as far as them being mentally weak, but we don't make that a same excuse for a Black person who commits a smaller crime in their neighborhood. They might be mentally ill, but sometimes we throw them in the prison system and don't even put them into, a mental hospital or something. We're just a lot easier on white people than we are on Black people, for sure.
Absolutely. And what I think is really part of the problem, and I think liberals, or we as people who don't believe in those right-wing conspiracy theories, we also have to check ourselves, because so many times I hear from people where I was thinking to myself just yesterday, when did this all started? And I know people on the side who also believe in conspiracy theories. I hear so many people say, I don't trust the mainstream media anymore. This whole phrase about the mainstream media this, the mainstream media that, this is part of the problem, because whoever takes a sledgehammer and tries to hurt the system, it just weakens the system. And I have the feeling that from both sides of the aisle, and I don't want to say, going to this way of like saying, oh, they're both beautiful, good people on both sides. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying there's a lot of people, liberals, who believe in any kind of conspiracy theory they just can find on the internet, to say, well, if we're talking about politicians, they're all corrupt anyway, they're all bought anyway, it's all big business. And so in a way, those both polar opposites come together in agreeing on that would you get better news on Twitter than reading the New York Times. And that's the problem. I mean, it's about mental instability for sure, but I do believe that a vast part of the population, if you spoon feed them with those kind of news that those right-wing dingbats consume, who went to the Capitol building and tried to enter, if you consume the same news, you're going to get the same results. After a while, you believe that, because it's not done in a bad way. I mean, they already like trended around saying, oh, maybe Antifa was part of this group of writers, and they try to support them, and then even doctoring up. And this is also one good point, a lot of them, those are middle-aged men between 50 and 70 years old. They didn't grow up in the time of media, social media, digital media, and they now get in contact with the internet, Twitter, all these things. And some of the stuff that people like us, we would think twice and say, well, is this something got doctored? Is this something that somebody made up? What kind of bias does he or she even have? But these older folks, simple folks, every day it's like John Doe don't always ask this question. And then they believe that, and we have new news networks coming up, like what is this, One America or Newsmax, and they're just playing on their feelings and emotions and firing them up, and then we got problems.
Yes. We were mentioning this before, the role the media plays and how accountable they should be. So since all of this happened, all of this broke out, we know it is directly connected to the president, directly connected to conspiracy theories, directly connected to media outlets that, are extreme. What is their accountability? Like, should we tear them down? What, should we shut them out? Should we censor them? Because I think one of the major national security threats in America, even though it's a good thing, but freedom of speech is used as a weapon to encourage hate and encourage radical ideas. So even though, we are known for that, being a cool, hip country with, you can say whatever you want, but at the end of the day, there was an attack on the Capitol because of that. Like,
it's hard to censor media, though. I think it's more so at the end of the day, we as individuals have to be responsible for how we take that information in, internalize it, and say what actions we're going to take in regards to that. It's very extreme for a group of people to come together and say that we want to take over the the Capitol building. That's like, sounds insane. It sounds insane. It is insane. And now we're in a situation to where, like you said, we have all these mentally unstable people who were able to take over the Capitol. That's just crazy. So then that means our security, we have an issue with our security, our national security. So it's just, it's all.
So you think it's more on the individual and not the major corporations to be responsible for that?
I just think it would be hard to censor every outlet, because the thing is, there's so many different outlets for communication now, and for media. What would we say at a certain point? It would be like, okay, we'll tell them, okay, you can't say this and you can't say that, but then somebody's going to say something and it's going to like that's going to trigger us to say you can't. It's just, I think it would be too much to manage.
Right. It would be a snowball effect.
So
but I think if it pushes a person, anything you say that pushes a person to commit treason against the country, I think that's the limit. Like, I think that's where we could draw the line. At least, like,
well, I feel like the White House could at least help in censoring Donald Trump. Like,
right.
Like, why are they allowing?
Jennifer, that's a good point, because I'm thinking like just yesterday came the decision of Twitter to permanently ban Donald Trump, and on one hand, I agree and say Twitter is a private company and they can make a decision that they don't want hate speech on their platform. On the other hand, I must agree that there are dictators in the world. I don't know, the king of Saudi Arabia, I think he can use his Twitter handle, and those are people who rule brutal dictatorial regimes. So I didn't like the decision yesterday, and I think it plays in the hand of people who already believe that they're silenced. And I think we got to be open. We got to say we don't silence anybody, because it don't bring nothing. I think like Jasmine said, there is a red line. If somebody directly and actively encourages people to commit active treason, if somebody uses hate speech in a way where you clearly can say a red line has been crossed, then you can delete or flag those specific comments, or even delete people for a certain amount of time. But it's really, really
you disagree
to tell these people they are part of the system, because they are part of our society. We can't just canceling them out or just saying, you know what, they don't exist, that they don't make anything easier. It's important to tell them, what you believe is wrong. It's not factual. It makes no sense. But according to the Constitution, you have a right to do so. Donald Trump has a right to believe and has a right to say that this election, in his opinion, was rigged. It's stupid. It's wrong, but it's his right under the Constitution. And I'm
Right.
proud that America is a country where it is possible. It's just important that for us, for the Democratic Party and for the Republicans who still are on the right side of history and want to be on the right side of history, that they take measures that 60, 70, 80% of the country, again, can unite. Those 20% who are far out to believe in racist theories, who actually like these pictures and want racism to spread across America, we can reach them. But the thing is, it's way more things are possible, and it's just important to, not don't let those people win by starting some kind of like censorship rallies where we now saying we have to censor this, we have to censor that, and
but I think, well, like you said, Twitter is a private company. Like they could do, tell people you can't come to our company.
Yeah, but their importance already on such a high level that you could ask yourself. That's the interesting thing about these new media outlets. They are private companies, but on the other hand, they reached enough importance that they were almost seen, at least by everyday life people, as public outlets. And the question is it better now? Trump already said, yeah, we're going to build up an own platform, and people are going to go to those.
Right. But the thing is, like, the president of the United States, he has an official like website like for this type of behavior. Twitter isn't it. And I also saw a comment
you mean
online
the White House?
saying, like, yeah, the White House has its own like correspondence, its own letterhead. Like, why is Twitter the new letterhead for the White House? I think that's ridiculous. Oh my God. But
yeah, honestly, like I never did understand that since the very beginning of his presidency, why the White House has not censored him more, because usually whenever there's a speech, whenever there's a press conference, whenever there's any type of press release or anything like that from the White House, or even from like a regular news station, it has to go through several different editors and people to say, okay, well, we want you to say that, but I don't think you should say that this way. There's been so much that's come out of the White House since Donald Trump's presidency that has just not made any kind of sense at all. And they have not you can't reel in a president. A president has to make sense. So I almost feel like Donald Trump himself is a little mentally unstable. I'm pretty sure. But it's like, and then like you said, then he riles up these other mentally unstable people. And then we have situations like what happened yesterday.
Right.
I mean, not yesterday, I'm sorry, but what happened at the Capitol.
Yeah, because judicially it's hard. If it was judicially clear that he is responsible for these rioters trying to take over the Capitol, then also the impeachment trial would make sense. Then also Bellingham would make sense.
Do you think he should be impeached?
Yeah.
No, I think personally, I think he deserves to be impeached. Strategically, I just think let's hope and pray and put our faith in everybody around him that in the last 12 more days, 11 more days till the 20th, nothing out of the ordinary will happen. That now
nothing else out of the ordinary.
But the thing is, I don't like that.
Don't put any more fuel into
I don't like
now.
that.
Just
but
wait till
the only reason why I would say impeach now, because somebody made a good point online. If he finishes his term and he's not
reelected,
he can run again. He can he will be paid and compensated for the rest of his life as president. He will get security detail for the rest of his life as a former president, and he will get all of these benefits. So basically he's being rewarded for almost tearing down the country. Like, if he's impeached, he doesn't get his pension. Like, he wasn't a good president. Why should our tax dollars, we're paying for him to be paid for the rest of his life. Like, this is crazy.
That's a good point. He should
be impeached where he doesn't get all of these benefits. It's crazy.
I think those benefits, in comparison to a total American budget, are just like minuscule point. And just from the standpoint of justice, I can agree with you. But even this point of running again, I think it's something like the Republican Party is important, even if you don't like them. There has to be a healthy Republican conservative party again who makes sense. And for them to work this out, they have to make this decision. I want them to.
They've been hijacked. They've been hijacked by a psychopath.
By a psychopath, exactly.
And they have to
No, they have not. No, they have not been hijacked.
Joshua, you haven't been hijacked. No.
So the question, Josh, was, do you think the president should be impeached?
Yes. He should not have no 25th Amendment. They should have did that on Tuesday. And now that he needs to be impeached, get all those rights. And as you just said, all those things I posted on my page yesterday, listing all those things that he could take him in to impeach him now. He'd make it quick. He does not deserve any of that stuff. But he not only him, Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, and all those other clowns too. They are just as you heard what Ted Cruz said on the Senate floor. Right, I turned it off, and 5 minutes later is when everything started happening. The last person I listened to was Ted Cruz. So I was like, okay, I can listen to this clown. He's really just trying to stir everything up, and then they start attacking. No, he needs to go. They all need to go to jail.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, you know what? That's a good point, though, as far as this jail thing. Now that I'm thinking about it, we got all these pictures online of people's faces talking about, can you identify these white people? Like, why were these people not arrested when this was all happening? Like, you had those people there, you had police to arrest them. Instead, the police are putting water in their eyes to help them ease the pain of mace and, escorting them through the Capitol building, the people who were in wheelchairs. Like, it was a whole line of people in wheelchairs that the security team was like escorting through the Capitol as they were being criminals, breaking and entering. Basically, these people, sounds like to me, those security people should be arrested as well. It sounds like all of them should just be.
That was my next question for you guys. Do you think this was an inside job? Josh?
No. This was a job. This was just a lack.
Why don't you think it's an inside job? Like, why?
Because it's business as usual.
Well, like Jasmine brought up a good point earlier. I'm gonna let her bring the point, though.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
I'm gonna go into detour on me about that. The Republican Party has been evil forever. This is what they want. Like, any of these clowns pretending like they didn't want this. Like, I'm like, I've been arguing with these clowns for 30 now. So like the past 12 years, and like this is what they wanted. This is what they always wanted. This is what they.
But the ease of which they came into the Capitol, how it was so easy to do it.
No, they were going around looking for congressmen. They were trying to find Mike Pence to kill him. They were trying to look for these people to kill them. The tapes came out last night. They were like, it's crazy.
That's why they should have been arrested.
They failed their mission.
Well, they failed their mission, and the police or security or whoever failed their mission and didn't arrest them. It's crazy.
They got for the architect.
Yeah, I think it also it pretty much appeared like the police, Capitol Police, whenever they were briefed on terrorist attacks happening against the Capitol building, they were thinking of something different. So it's kind of like they weren't prepared for something like this, and
obviously.
And there was a refusal to send the National Guard. They refused to send the National Guard. So I don't think
so quickly send the National Guard when it's Black people. Like they said, it's like when Donald Trump was talking about Black Lives Matter, he's like, okay, when the looting starts, the shooting starts, or whatever, so he's immediately quickly send in whoever. And then with the white people, I think, didn't he say these were wonderful people and thank you for coming out and stuff like that, or something like, oh, I love you. Yeah, something crazy.
But yes, impeach, please. This is crazy. So what is the end game? What is going to result? What do you think the end result will be?
We have to heal as a country somehow.
Yeah.
These people are evil. They have been evil, will continue to be evil. They don't like us.
They don't like black people.
No, they're not black people. They don't like anybody who's not a white majority person like them. They barely like women. They barely like white women. They are barely allowed them, man, because they have to for population reasons.
I just feel like as a country, we don't deal with our baseline issues, as far as
mental health.
Yes, mental health is one of those issues. And that's something that I almost feel like needs to be incorporated into school at this point is wellness, mental health. We talked about this before, Jasmine, as far as emotional control, being able to decipher what makes sense versus what doesn't make sense. I mean, I know that sounds crazy because they teach so much technical stuff to us in school, but I feel like there's a myth somewhere. We have the school shootings. We have, it's just like we need to, as a society, rethink our education system, maybe, of how we teach people how to handle certain situations. I don't know.
That's a good point, because we always circle around back to mental health. We always circle around to people just not being educated. Maybe we just think they're like ignorant and, with no education. But since education is being privatized and stripped from our country and public education, and then mental health is a part of the healthcare system, which is also crumbling, these two important pillars need to be, propped up in a significant way. But do you think these are, solutions that can save us and prevent like this from happening again?
Absolutely. And you can already see, like, if people have the feeling they're taken seriously, and if people have the feeling that the government cares, then it's possible to bring some of them back to the table in a way. Some of this is definitely a problem that these people a lot of times are uneducated. These people have the feeling that this globalized world, digitalization, a country becoming more diverse, all these things scare them. All these things, for them, they put it together with their desperate situation, which has nothing to do with the country becoming more diverse, with nothing to do with immigration, it's nothing to do with it. But they using this as a scapegoat for their situation that is based on bad education, healthcare system not being the way it should be, the economy, moving out of rural areas, being shipped overseas, and then people like Trump come in and offer so-called simple solutions. And that's why it is so important for us to look at these people. Don't look down on them. It's not their crime to be 50, 60 years old and a white man, but it is the crime to stay ignorant and keep educating the people who want to be educated. Clearly make sure whoever tries to commit acts of violence, tries to go in this direction, has to be monitored, has to be supervised and singled out, and then be taken care of by the judicial system. But for those who just believe in these things, we still have to reach out. And for me, on January 6th, that's why this day was especially sad politically, because just that morning I heard the beautiful news from Reverend,
from the South,
the Warnock and Ossoff, both winning Georgia. And this shows me, just like, come on, they won Georgia. Who would have believed that a red state like Georgia would have been won by a liberal filmmaker and a black pastor?
Right.
And one thing that also very much...
Wait, before you continue, Felix, I'm going to talk about the Georgia runoffs.